So hey, welcome back to part 4 of painting. We are going to, in this video, paint the Space Marine's head a flat colour of white. Now, you might remember in the last video I said that if you're going to paint a white colour, it's better to use either a white undercoat or use 4 to 5 coats of flat of white. So what we're going to do is we're going to start applying it like so, being very careful to stay within what we're doing. Now when you're doing a base colour like what we're doing now, don't worry if you paint over bits that you don't intend to be that colour. You can get to it later, especially with Space Marines and with 1 to 28 miniatures in general. There's going to be a lot of bits that you might not intend to have that colour. That's quite okay. Now I'm going to show you something quickly. You can see from so far that we've painted that there's a lot of black coming through, because white tends to be a colour that will streak a lot over a black background. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep painting this, and as soon as it's dry we're going to put another coat on. This can take quite a while, so you're going to want to be patient about it. But the stark contrast of whites and of a pure flat white colour and other colours is well worth the effort that you put in. Feel free to edit out parts of this, just the really drudgery bits. So as you can see, the miniature has had its first coat, and you can see it's a bit blotchy in some places and a bit sparse in others. That's not going to change unless we put more paint on it. So without further ado, let us attempt our second coat. Now, you don't want to use too much paint for this, because too much paint will obscure the detail. So you'll just put it over everything that you put it over the first time. I'm going to let it dry for a bit, because until it dries it's going to become very stringy paint. I didn't realise that this paint in particular did this. That's okay. Just means I need to adapt my style and be more patient. Okay, so when we last left off we'd put the second coat on, and we've let it dry for a bit, so we're coming back for the third. So we're just going to start applying again as usual. Making sure that we get into all the cracks. Again, make sure you don't use too much paint, otherwise it will not create a good effect. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to start painting the hands the same colour. Now, I am incredibly indebted to my old White Dwarf magazines for teaching me good painting tips. One of them was the idea of the triangle. If you have a largely darker coloured model, what you want to do is you want to have a triangle of lighter colours, most often that is the head and the hands, to set it off so that it's not a shapeless blob of paint. So with that in mind, we're going to start painting the hands white as well. So that means that whatever darker colour we paint our Space Marine battle brother, the white shall ensure that it looks the best it possibly can. Now, some people like to leave the weapons off their models before painting to ensure that they can get into the back. If you're a good enough painter, you may not need to do that. And at any rate, for most line infantry, people aren't going to look closely enough. And for command models, you're going to have them open enough that you can reach every part of the body anyway. So it's a bit of a moot point. Being someone who appreciates the modelling side of the hobby the most, I generally can't wait to see the model fully completed. And given that I have been known to play with unfinished models, I generally like to see them put together as soon as possible. Now, as you might have seen there, I'm just going to make sure that we don't get spider webs of paint. You've got to be careful in case it blobs into areas obscuring details. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly run over our model and make sure all the detail like eye sockets stands in relief. Now, unbeknownst to me, I did not realise that this paint would create spider webs, but it's no big deal. You can pick it off, rub it off, paint over it when you're done. So, as you can see, having white hands adds a certain something to the model and makes it a lot more fetching than if it only had just one part of a light colour. So we can now paint the model the rest dark colours using a metallic shade for the bolt gun and darker colours for the Space Marine armour, and we will be fairly well safe that our model will still look striking on the battlefield and in the display case.